This video starts with a maid opening the door for a man. The maid seemed to be uneasy as she opened the lock. What was going on here was much darker than how it all seemed. We then transition inside where the camera films the same man entering the house followed by a young lady. More men follow the young lady inside the house. We can clearly see how the young woman was uncomfortable there. The situation seemed tense as the men sat down and made themselves at home. What was happening here is absolutely terrifying. We then see the other man walking towards the maid while carrying a firearm. These men had clearly came to rob the house. They had used the young lady to enter the house. She must have been coming from somewhere when she suddenly got involved in this terrifying situation. The maid had no choice but to open the door after seeing the young lady. She cared for being held at gunpoint by these culprits. We see the men demanding everyone to go to a separate room as they planned their robbery. This must have been terrifying for the people involved. Moments later, we see the robbers back in frame after they had taken valuables from the house. They requested for the maid to open the door as they prepared to leave. But one of the robbers seemed eager to continue his havoc. We see him being aggressive towards the maid as he seemed to be aggravated by something. Unfortunately, there is no way to know what happened when they went out of frame as the video ends there. These situations are always extremely dangerous for victims, mostly when the robbers have the upper hand. Complying is always recommended in this situation to avoid escalation. The maid handled this very well in the best way possible in order to protect the young people in the house. The video starts with a man walking around the house. We can see him opening doors as he seems to be looking for something. We then see another man reading a newspaper as he follows behind. The man in the black jacket looks like he is communicating something to the man reading the newspaper. This whole situation looked tense as there seemed to be some suspicious activity going on here. The man then continues to open drawers as he must have been looking for something specific. The man reading the newspaper looks unbothered in this tense situation as he holds his composure. This was definitely a robbery in progress, as we see the culprit look for valuables under the bed. The drawer opening and searching continues as the man seemed to not find what he is looking for. This must have been a terrifying experience for the owner, but props to him for keeping calm in this situation and avoid escalations. In most cases, it is more important to preserve your own life and allow these difficult situations to pass, since material things are replaceable, but not life. Culprits continues to take what he deemed valuable as he prepares to escape. We see him demanding the owner to put the laptop inside the bag. Fortunately, this did not escalate in any way, and the owners were left unharmed in this situation. Here we see a man looking through the window at a residence. The suspicious man then moves off camera, as he seems to have seen something inside the house. The owners must not have been at home, as in most cases these culprits target homes for a while before breaking in when no one is around. We then see the man again as he tries to open the window with his gloves on. This is done to conceal fingerprints in the event of an investigation. The man seemed to be struggling to enter as his plan is not working out there. He then continues to go around the yard. We then see his sidekicks as they join in the shameful act. The men looks through the windows possibly to try and find their way as their leader seemed to be failing bad. These thieves were completely clueless. This shows the importance of alarms in homes and private security response teams. In South Africa, the private security are deemed more reliable in most instances because of the shortcomings in the national police service in the country. The men then leave before coming back to call their leader, who was busy just beyond the camera's view. We then see them returning, rushing to the back of the house before leaving carrying valuables including a smart TV. Unfortunately, in this case, the culprits managed to break in. See a family enjoying their time in the living room. Suddenly, man busts in with guns as this becomes clear that this was a robbery. The man slowly raises his hands as he comforts the person sitting with him on the couch. The robbers start demanding for valuables as we see another man being dragged into the living room. The culprits continue to demand for valuables as the situation gets more and more tense. Props to these victims for staying calm in this dangerous situation. We see the robbers getting more aggressive as they demand for something from the inhabitants. They also seem to be telling the inhabitants to cover their faces. This was possibly done to avoid the possibility of being identified if they ever get caught. Among all this, the dog keeps trying to fight for its owners as she continuously barks at the culprits. The dog did the most she could, but this situation needed pit bulls and Rottweilers. We then see the robbers demanding for the inhabitants to cover up more and lay on the ground. This must have been really terrifying for these innocent people who were just a few minutes ago enjoying a good time in their home. The thieves continue to look for valuables, as they seem to be not finding anything in the house. These men look totally confused here. For some reason, the robbers kept reaching inside the blanket as this situation becomes more and more terrifying. We also see the other man getting searched on the ground for the third time, which just shows how confused these robbers are. We then see the other robber coming into the room, as they seem to have decided to take the smart TV. The man carries it out as the other robbers stand guard on the homeowners. The small dog really wanted to protect its home there, but unfortunately she was not built for these situations. The camera then transitions into the next room as we see the robbers searching the rooms. They empty the wardrobe as they continue to look for valuables. We see them selecting what they deem valuable as they continue to go up and down the house. Unfortunately, the camera footage cuts with no final outcome on this situation. Here we see three men opening the back of a truck. This is being done right by the gate in broad daylight, as we see the car parked right across the gateway rail. In South Africa, it is always risky to leave your valuable belongings in open view, where they can be easily identified by these culprits. Robbers tend to take advantage in these situations, as they know they will definitely catch people off guard. It is always safer to build enclosed garages when you possess assets that can be easily targeted by these clowns. This will definitely lessen the chances of attracting unwanted attention from these culprits. We see the men as they prepare to load a bike onto the back of the open truck. The men carefully help each other as they seem to be at home in this area. They finish up just fine as they prepare to leave the area with the bike at the back. The bike definitely looked expensive, and in this situation, robbers might have already targeted this house for a long time without the owner's knowledge. The bike being at an open space definitely made the situation more vulnerable there, because you can never let your guard down in South Africa. We then see them enter the vehicle as they prepare to leave with the bike secured at the back. They unfortunately drove off the area after finishing their heist. This was in broad daylight and was done while the culprits looked comfortable with no fear in the world. This shows the importance of security alerts and armed response. It is always recommended to invest in these security options when you own assets at home, mostly in a country where the housebreaking rate is extremely high.